Hiya! Today is going to be a little different in that I'm doing a digital piece this time. As you can tell by the title, it's a Meet the Artist sheet, which is usually done digitally, so that's why I'm doing it that way too. I had originally planned on just posting one like this one, but then I thought that it would make an alright video. Like, just alright. Not fantastic or anything, but like, it's content, I guess. So I ended up scrapping this one in order to do a brand new one. And that's why I wanted to take a second just to point out a few things here about the original one. This first piece I made trying to use a painterly style that I'm used to doing traditionally, but I have a hard time dealing with line work digitally. I can't ever figure out whether I should use it or not, or how I should be using it, because I can do digital work that's lineless, but that can take me hours. I'm talking upwards of 20 hours for one piece. An eyeball can take me 2 hours easily. And I chalk that up to getting bored and understimulated. Thanks, ADHD, you're super helpful. On the piece you're going to see me working on, I do attempt a painterly style, but it was already taking so long by the time I'd finished the base colors for the skin. And I remember starting the hair and completely losing all motivation, energy, and interest. So I cut it all out and just used a line work tool and filled everything in flat colors. So in a comparison between the two, there's certainly going to be a lot of differences. And while I would rather do a painterly style like the former, for a video it's just not feasible. The work you're seeing right now is already sped up 800% and my computer is absolutely hating rendering it. And that was only about 4 hours of work. Not including the sketching, of course, because I wasn't going to force you all to watch an extra condensed 2 hours of sketching proportions, and erasing, and sketching again, and fiddling with placing and all that jazz. Because yes, sketching can absolutely take me that long. I want everything placed properly, and that's hard for me to do because I can't really visualize what it is I want to see. So I just have to sort through a bunch of references to figure it out, and it's just a mess. This video would be too long for me to even care about talking over. As it is, I'll duck out every once in a while when I've said most of what I can think of and let some EDM or lo-fi or something play in the background. I'll try and pick a song or two that I think fits my personality, but we'll see what future Heather decides when she's editing. The thing is, when it comes to painting skin, I have, a lot of fun. Painting clothing or hair? I'm out. I thought for this video it was a small enough piece without a background that I could get myself through it, and that just was not the case. But I will say that I love starting with blues and purples and building up and blending all of the shadows and contours in the skin. Doing the same for clothing and hair in particular requires a different pattern of paint strokes and different types of brushes that I haven't quite figured out, and I'd rather not struggle with that stuff on camera, you know? What I ended up doing instead was using the curve tool inside to create the line work, and because that curve tool doesn't take into account any pressure sensitivity, I have to manually adjust the pressure and line thickness myself. I could have just used a regular pen tool with pressure sensitivity and drawn normally, but my hands are shaky and my tablet is small and I didn't want to spend more time than I had to. It would just be a lot of the same line being drawn over and over again otherwise. This tool is also one of the first I started using when I started digital art. My first drawing tablet didn't have any pressure sensitivity, so this tool was the only way I could get around that. However, what I've discovered recently is that this layer that utilizes the curve tool is technically a vector layer. I realized this one day when I found that I could rasterize the layer and it would become a normal layer where I could paint with my other brushes. I more or less understand the difference between the two terms, but if you're hoping for me to tell you what they mean, I'm afraid you're out of luck there. I have no idea how to put it into words. I just know that vectors look weird and rigid, and when I'm trying to do painterly things, it can be really annoying. But I also can't seem to get around it even when I'm trying to use line work without the vector layer, and it clashes with the painterly way that I want to do things, and watching other people's speed paints just don't help, and sorry. Digital art frustrates me just a little bit. Someday I'll figure it out. Maybe. I think the hardest parts to work on were probably the legs and the folds in the shirt. I always either overdraw the folds or underdraw them, and that's usually because I plan on painting the folds to give the illusion of depth, and you can't really do that with just line work, so it's hard for me to figure out what the right lines are to give the same kind of illusion, you know? But I think aside from the certain parts of the shirt, I did alright. The fewer lines the better, I think, at least for the style I was going for, which is obviously different from the first one I showed you at the beginning. This one is meant to be more simplistic because, just being honest, I don't have the energy to create something fully rendered. What I had started doing with the coloring initially was just laying down flat colors and doing some multiply layers on top. The shirt was going to be yellow and I was going to draw on a quick plaid style because I have this yellow plaid button up that I just love a lot. But creating a color scheme that didn't clash was also just out of my range of ability at the time. So I decided to go with a semi-monochromatic look instead. I started from the same base hue and would adjust only the saturation and value to make up the rest of the colors. With the exception of my eyes though, because I didn't think they would really look right with any shade of the reddish pink when in reality they're green and brown. So yeah, I went with a simple muted green and called it good. In order to make sure that detail didn't stand out too much though, I did change the haphazardly painted background to a similar shade. And I think the complementary colors work well with this sort of simplistic style, but I'm not great on color theory, so yeah, I think it looks okay. Once I was satisfied with that, I moved on to making and filling in the boxes with info. What I see a lot of people list in their Meet the Artist is stuff like their age, where they're from, fun facts, likes, dislikes. And if I had had the room or the patience, I would have also drawn my pets. But I had neither, so I drew neither. I decided to mix it up a tiny bit and draw some poorly made flags to show where I'm from, as well as what languages I speak. I drew in Ireland's and Germany's flags because those are the languages that I'm closest to fluency in. At the moment, I'm not very fluent in either because it's been a while, but there was a point in time where I was fluent, so they count. If I was just counting what languages I'm studying, I would have had to put up about 2 or 3 more flags. And there wasn't really room for that because I'm bad at planning things out, as you can see. I also added my pride flags because I'm comfortable enough to share those. I'm proud to be bi and ace, and I really like both of the flag's colors, so why not? When it came to the fun facts, I didn't really have room if I wanted my handwriting to be legible once this was zoomed out, so I could only fit 2. I knew the first one I wanted to put was ambidextrous, meaning I can use both my hands for similar tasks, like handwriting or spiking a volleyball or painting. I was born left-handed, but was taught to be right-handed because everyone in my house was a righty except for my dad, who's also ambidextrous, as I learned later. He wasn't really around, though, to teach me enough to, master it, but it's always something fun to point out, so I figured it deserved a spot on my very limited list. I had to cut out about 10 minutes worth of dead video because I just sat there racking my brain for something else I could list. Everything I wanted to add felt like a brag, and I absolutely hate bragging. It feels weird, but this is the sort of thing where you're supposed to, talk about yourself, right? A lot of the ones I wanted to write required more than just 1 line of space, though, so I just settled for writing in that I was a triple major in college. That still feels like a brag, though, and I hate it. When it came to listing my likes, there were so many things I wanted to write, and at this point, I was hoping that I was going to have some energy to draw in my dog and let that speak for itself, but I didn't and ended up forgetting to list my own dog in my likes, and trust me, that still makes me sad just thinking about it. My picture for YouTube, Insta, and Twitter all show a drawing of me with my dog anyway, though, so, maybe that makes up for it. Just a little bit. I'm sorry, Alvin. My likes are a bit all over the place. Going from anime and D&D to figure skating and piano feels a bit whiplash-inducing. I wish I had more time in my day to do all of these things all the time, but alas, my body would probably hate me if I tried. When it came to dislikes, I was honestly finding it hard to write anything down. Of course, I knew I was recording and felt kind of pressured because now I can think of a whole slew of other things I'd totally add. Like the sound of people chewing or smacking their lips, including my own. It makes me irrationally angry and my skin just crawls. But writing acne on there is honestly enough to make up for that. I've been battling with my skin since I was 11 and that war is still going on. As for putting down peanut butter in phone calls, I don't know if I need to explain these. I just don't like peanut butter. I'm not allergic or anything. It just doesn't taste good to me. I'm definitely allergic to phone calls though, 100%. So that's sort of my bare bones Meet the Artist sheet. Hopefully I'll be better at everything by the time next year rolls around and I can update this to look way better. But for now, I think that's where I'll leave it. I hope this was at least somewhat interesting to watch. I'll keep working on my digital art skills, maybe invest in Clip Studio at some point because I see so many more people use that, but we'll see. If you're still here, thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like or a comment down below. Also consider subscribing if you haven't already to see more content from me. More traditional art content, at least. I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!